Hello everyone, Magdalena here, Wolf of Coins. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I will be talking about something that it's been on my mind for quite a while. And I finally decided it's time to make a video about it. So I hope you'll enjoy. I wanted to talk about the descending goddesses, a myth of a goddess that descends into the underworld and then comes back. So we will start with the oldest myth that we know, that we have written records of, but for sure the tradition, the oral tradition, is much older, and it's about Inanna from Sumerian mythology. And yeah, the oldest written records we have from 4,000 years ago. And you might have seen this image here and there. So this is Inanna, the queen of heaven and earth. And this myth has been very popular because it's very powerful. It talks about transformation, so we can see it in many other mythologies, traditions, including Christianity, of course. There are male stories too about gods or heroes, but today I will be focusing on goddesses only. So yeah, Inanna, at some point she's the queen of heavens, and at some point she hears a call from the great below. That's the reason why she decides to go down to the underworld, which is ruled by her sister Ereshkigal. And there she dies, and after 3 days she comes back to life and ascends to heaven in glory. That's a really like short version, but you can already tell that there are like really familiar tropes here, aren't there? And so on one hand we can say that it is a trope that we can see in all traditions, such as shamanic initiations, because you have to go to a foreign land or a forest or underworld, and there you symbolically die and you re-emerge as a new person. You need to like be resurrected in a way, and then you are included in a new group, like new age group, or a group of initiated people, stuff like that. And we see it a lot, really a lot, in fairy tales too, but this is a topic for a separate video actually. So similarly to fairy tales, we see it in the tale of Amor and Psyche. I had her somewhere. Where is she? Yeah, I have a new deck, by the way, you guys. It's the Ancient Feminine Wisdom, and if you want to, I can do a walkthrough. It's been reprinted because it was published in 2007, then went out of print, and now US Games has reprinted it. So anyway, we have Psyche. You might have heard about this story. So similarly to the fairy tale, she goes through trials, and one of them is her meeting with Persephone in the underworld. So she has to descend to the underworld and talk to the queen of the underworld. Then after she completes the task, she falls asleep. So it's a kind of, yeah, a small death, you could call it. It's been called this. And then she's revived, and she becomes a goddess. She marries her beloved, and she goes with him to the heavens, so she's ascending. And some scholars point to a relationship between Inanna and planet Venus, because she's associated with it. This is the same as goddess Ishtar, who is believed to be like a later incarnation of Inanna. They have a lot in common. And planet Venus disappears from a time from the skies, goes underground. It cannot be seen. So some scholars point to this, like it's the planet itself does the same path that the goddess does, because she can be seen as the planet as well. And it's also Aphrodite's planet, of course. She's Venus in the Roman version. And also Aphrodite is the one who puts Psyche under all the tests. So yeah, we can see a relationship here. But also, in fact, the same goes for the sun and the moon. They also temporarily die and go back to life. So we can weave myths around it as well. And all three of these heavenly bodies were in various cultures associated with a goddess. Yeah, so about Queen of Heavens, we also have, in Greek mythology, we have Hera. And she has the title, right? Queen of Heavens. And she also was known to go through her own cycles. Well, I'm trying to not make this video too long, too full of digressions, so I'm just mentioning some of the goddesses and some of the facts. Of course, there is more to this. I just try to, stick to the point. Anyway, Hera, Queen of Heavens, who annually would take a bath in a holy spring and thus regain her virginity. So she was, in a way, going the full cycle. There are also myths of her, maybe not myths. We know that she's been worshipped in temples in three different aspects: as a maiden, as the wife, and as a widow. So we see this myth that she goes through those phases and then is renewed and is a young girl again. Anyway, so one meaning of this descent myth, we can see it might be an initiation, and the other cycles of nature. So cycles of the stars or the moon or the sun, or the vegetation cycles, right? So the seasons of the year. And yeah, so a similar story to Inanna's we have with Persephone, or Kore. She's called Kore when she's in her maiden aspect, and then she turns into Persephone. So in the classical myth, she's abducted by Hades, who takes her by force and make her his wife. But it is very possible that it is like a later addition to an older myth, because as we know, for example, in Greek culture, we have remains of older belief systems, and then overlaid on top of it, we get beliefs brought to Greece from the north. Anyway, so most of them are like more patriarchal, so we get more men there, like Hades here, who takes her by force. But what if she was just like Inanna? If she just, heard the voice, the call from the great below, and she went there of her own will. So she hears the call and she knows it's time to go, because, as I said, she also goes through cycles, right? From Kore to Persephone. And she knows it's time to go. And then from a young girl, Kore, she becomes a queen of the underworld, Persephone. And so we again have these two meanings. There's a girl growing up, so it's a kind of an initiation into adulthood. And the second one, the renewal of life, because she comes back in spring. So she, for the dark part of the year, she kind of stays in the underworld. However, this is myth, so it's happening never and all the time, if you know what I mean. So it means that she's always the queen of the underworld, but at the same time we get spring and she comes out and she's Kore, she's young, then she goes down, she becomes the queen of the underworld. And so yeah, that's this. And now for Slavic mythology, I have these two here because we can see a similar story, even though we have only like little crumbs and scraps of knowledge left. We can reconstruct a lot, I think, especially relating to those other myths, those ideas, mythological thinking processes. So I've mentioned this before in some of my Slavic pagan videos, but let's say it again. There is a ritual of drowning the goddess Marzanna. Here we have this is a Russian deck, so there are names a bit different. Here she is Morena, but it's another version of the name. So in Poland we get Marzanna, but there are other variants like Morena, Morana, Mara, and similar. So on the first day of spring, March 21st, there is a ritual that in Poland and some other Slavic countries we do to this day. And it's the drowning of Marzanna. So nowadays she's mostly seen as the symbol of winter that we want to get rid of, and then the spring can come. And well, mostly it's children in kindergartens and schools who do that, and I did that as well when I was a kid. So we would create an effigy from old clothes and have a stick, to carry the effigy. And then with singing, we would go to a river or a pond or anything like this and drown this effigy. There is an alternative way to do it. You can also put the effigy on fire, or you can do both. First set it on fire and then drown it in the river. Anyway, there is another part of the ritual that is not really alive anymore, but we know about it. Actually, after destroying the effigy of Marzanna, young people would go to the forest and bring a young fir tree decorated with colorful ribbons and sing about it as it's her, it's female, and they bring her to the village and walk around the village with her so she can, bring luck, bless all the households. And we can here clearly see the renewal of life. So once Marzanna drowns, then she comes back. And she's sometimes called, excuse me, Marzanna, and sometimes it's Dziewanna. And these are actually two goddesses. Here we have Divana and Morena, so Dziewanna, Marzanna. This is the Russian version of the name. And sometimes they are seen, like by contemporary Slavic pagans, they are seen as two faces of one goddess. And if we look at that, we can see that Dziewanna, she is like, even through her name, I explained it in the Gromnica video, but yeah, but her name can point us to the idea of brightness, youth. She is also associated with fire. And then we have Marzanna, who is associated with death, with cold, with the dream world. So we can see how they could be like two sides of a one coin. I also have my own pictures here, but yeah, it's not easy to show them to you. This is my Dziewanna with the candle, so the fire association and the brightness and light. And here, this is Marzanna going back to the waters with the snakes. She takes the snakes with her. Anyway, I also, in my very long Pantheon video, I showed you this. Oh God, I hope I won't destroy anything on my desk. But yeah, we have these two here, Dziewanna and Marzanna. And I drew them on purpose like this. They could be, you know, two faces of the one entity. So Dziewanna is a young huntress compared to Artemis in the chronicles. So she was the lady of the beasts of the hunt, and as I said, associated with fire. And then we get Marzanna, who is associated with vegetation, so a bit like Demeter, who is the mother of Persephone and who appears in like as a set with her daughter anyway, and also with death. So whoops, you could see this pair here. And Marzanna also holds the golden key to Earth. So she's the ruler of the Earth, a bit like Persephone, who becomes the queen. So we could see these two, as I said, as two sides of one coin, or we could see them as like a mother and daughter. It actually doesn't really matter. It's you can just, if you want to, you can pick what speaks to you best, because we have like both versions all around in the mythology. So as I said, the mother and daughter version is very popular, but we also have other pairs, like we get Psyche and Aphrodite, who is also like, there are two of them. There is Inanna and her sister Ereshkigal, who some scholars interpret as Inanna's dark self. So yeah, in the fairy tales, the girl who goes through the trials is usually tested by a female, as opposed to hero stories where he has to fight a male opponent. So in many Slavic tales, it's Baba Yaga who puts the girl to the test. So yeah, so as I said, there is this pair, or we could see even a triad here, like, you know, a triple goddess, because we get the descending young girl, the one who is to be initiated. Then we have the one who becomes the queen of underworld. She dies and becomes the queen of underworld. And then there is a third type of the goddess, who is the one who ascended to heavens, or back to heavens. We see this in the triad of Artemis, Hecate, and Selene. So Artemis is the young virgin goddess. Then Hecate is the one from the underworld, and Selene is the goddess of the moon. She's bright on the sky. So if I were to see a triad here, I talked about it a bit before, but oh my goodness, it's too big to show you properly. Can I? Okay, so for me, this is me, this is my interpretation. I by no means say it was like this and you should believe it. No, it's something for me that I've been, you know, working on and that I feel. So for me, this is the triad here. And, well, the triad, but it's one goddess in a way. But to understand her better, we separate them. So yeah, for me it would be the one descending would be Giovanna, the one who is like before the initiation. Then we get Marzanna, who rules the land of the dreams, of magic, and the death, the darkness. And Lela, or Gigi Lela, who would be the one who's ascended, who is the queen of heavens, simply. So I would have much more to say about all those triads and pairs and whatnot, but I will stop myself now because it would be, yeah, not to the point and too much material, I think. So lastly, I wanted to mention something else from Polish tradition, and this is a character, a figure from the legend about origins of Poland. I think we can hear there an echo of the goddess. So there was Wanda, a legendary Polish queen, and nowadays she's mostly remembered as a virgin queen who preferred to die rather than marry a foreigner who attacked her kingdom. So he attacked the kingdom and said, well, either you be my wife or I just take you by force. And this version was very popular when Poland was under occupation, because, you know, it showed the attitude of we'd rather die than surrender, and, you know, it got really popular. But actually, in the oldest version of the legend, Wanda doesn't die at all. She rules wisely and never marries, and dies of old age, just like that. She is, however, described by her unlucky suitor as a ruler of heavens, earth, and the sea. So again, like 3 realms. And in the later version, she indeed dies by jumping into the river, the Vistula River, with which she has a strong connection with. But it happens after her suitor has killed himself, because she rejected him and his army, and she stopped his army, so he kills himself. So her reason for taking her life is not very clear. There is something there about it being an offering to the gods, but yeah, it's not really explained. So there is no clear reason, just like we had with Inanna. So maybe Queen Vanda heard the call from the great below. Who knows? And we also know that there were offerings made, like for many centuries, there were offerings made on the Mound of Vanda near Krakow. And one interesting info is that I have this cool book that is a book of, oh come on, oh, it's here. It's the Great Book of Polish Demons, and it's a thick one. So there actually is a devil. It's like a collection. Wherever the authors found mention of a kind of a supernatural creature or a devil or whatever, they put it here. Also names of gods and goddesses, but yeah, we get Vanda or Venda here. And where was it? So yeah, we have 3 meanings for it. One of it is a kind of like a virgin water nymph related to Vistula River. Second one is probably a pre-Christian Slavic goddess. And the third one is the name of a she-devil that we get like in 1570s, some kind of a chronicle. So for me, this is a sign that if we get this, if we hear that this name was used as a she-devil's name, she must have been in a way connected to worship. So to sum this all up, we can see that the goddesses teach us how to grow, how to overcome obstacles, and that sometimes going deep inside into the darkness of the womb is the way to light, change, and illumination. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, please leave them in there below. Ha! See what I did there? So yeah, and let me know what you think. I would love to hear all your ideas. So have a lovely day, and thank you for watching. Bye.